Lon Esmond here for Winners and Winers, where we're trying to make you a better. Well, like us, comment, follow the videos, and by the way, go to the website. Look for those premium picks. Got a special package this weekend. You're going to want to check it out for Thanksgiving weekend. So many great games, and I'm going to talk about one that is probably going to be something of a dog, and that is, well, Raiders versus Seahawks. So the Raider Nation had reason to rejoice last Sunday. They won in thrilling fashion, beating their rival Denver Broncos in overtime in Denver on a touchdown pass from Derek Carr to Devontae Adams, a duo that has been surprisingly disappointing this season. Anybody remember when the Raiders-Broncos games meant something? It's been years since a Raiders-Bronco game meant a damn thing. Now, the Seahawks, last time out, they lost their first game in several weeks. They lost to a resurgent Buccaneers team overseas in London, and the Bucs, boy, they looked a lot more like the playoff team last year or the Super Bowl team the year before than they looked like the crap that has been on the field most of this year. The Bucs have finally gotten healthy on offense. They have their full complement of starters back at the skill positions, and Brady, he kind of picked apart the Hawks defense enough to get the win. Now, these two teams meet Sunday in Seattle. Seattle coming off a loss and getting a bye because they were over in Europe. The Raiders coming off a win against the Broncos, and I don't think it's going to be much of a game. Seattle and the boys from Vegas have fairly similar stats when it comes to yards needed per point for the other team to score. Really interesting metric I've been looking at and following recently. And they're much better in terms of how few yards they need to gain per point at 13.7. That is the Seahawks. The second most efficient offense by that metric in the NFL, that is the Seahawks. And the Raiders need to get 15.2 yards per point. They're about in the middle of the NFL pack. So the Raiders and the Seahawks, in terms of the metric, how many yards does a team have to gain to score on them? About the same. But the Seahawks are the second most efficient team behind the Atlanta Falcons in terms of how many yards they need to gain per point. The Raiders about in the middle of the pack. The Raiders' pass rush has been less than it was even last year, and if it's even possible, the linebacker and secondary play is even worse. Both units have been thinned by injuries, cuts, and even sudden retirements. The Seahawks defense has certainly played better than the Raiders. Both teams surrender about the same amount of points per game, about 24. The Seahawks want to run the ball, and the Raiders have been susceptible to the run, ranked 20th against the rush in the NFL. But the Seahawks give up even more yards per game in rush defense. The Seahawks rank 21st in pass defense, and the Raiders 24th. So, the Raiders also allowed a league worst 106-point passer rating to opposing quarterbacks. That's almost unbelievable. It basically means quarterbacks are almost perfect against the Raiders. Now, Geno Smith wasn't great last time out against the Buccaneers, but the Raiders defense is going to make him look like Roger Staubach, Joe Montana combined. Because they don't have the corners to keep up with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They just don't have the talent to stay with those guys. So here we go. The Raiders put up a fight, but lose in the end, and the Seahawks cover minus the 2.5. And you heard it here first and last and always from Loud Esmond here at Winners and Winers, trying to make you a better